Okay, let's start with the obvious. AMC bringing back the terror after 6 years is either a bold move or a desperate Hail Mary. I mean, most shows that take that long between seasons, they are either forgotten or remembered as cautionary tales. But here we are, with a new story set in a psychiatric hospital that promises to blend real-world horror with supernatural dread. And honestly, if you ask me, this might be the most relevant season yet. Here's why. First, let's unpack the premise. Pepper, a working-class guy wrongfully committed to New Hyde Psychiatric Hospital. On paper, it's a classic setup: wrongful imprisonment, institutional neglect, the list goes on. But what the terror, devil in silver, seems to be doing differently is making the setting itself the monster. Not just the hospital's secrets, but the idea that society's discard pile, it's forgotten, it's marginalized, creates its own kind of hell. And that's where this gets interesting. Because when you think about it, horror anthologies like this one thrive on metaphor. The first season's Arctic ice, isolation, death by nature. The second season's internment camp, systemic racism and fear of the other. So what's a psychiatric hospital in 2026 saying? That our treatment of mental health is still a third-act twist away from being a full-blown slasher film. Now, I'll admit, I haven't read Victor LaValle's novel, but from what I gather, the book uses New Hyde as a microcosm for how we warehouse human suffering. So why adapt this now? Post-pandemic burnout? Rising mental health crises? Or is it just that streaming services need content and horror sells? Maybe all three. But what I find fascinating is how this season's director, Karen Kusama, approaches it. She's no stranger to slow-burn dread, The Invitation proved that. So pairing her with Dan Stevens, who's basically playing a less creepy version of his The Guest persona, feels like a deliberate choice. They're leaning into the everyman in a nightmare vibe, which is smart. Because if Pepper's just a regular guy, the audience doesn't get to detach. This could be any of us, right? But here's where I think people might miss the point. The devil in the title isn't just a literal entity. It's the system, the staff, the patients turned predators by survival instincts. Hell, even Pepper's own rage gets a seat at the table. And that's the real horror. The marketing will sell it as a supernatural showdown, but the show's DNA suggests it's more about how institutions warp humanity. Compare that to Season 1's exploration of colonialism and masculinity, or Season 2's World War II trauma. This feels like a step closer to home. Mental health isn't some distant fear, it's in our families, our workplaces, our blind spots. So AMC's betting that audiences are ready to confront that, and I'm here for it. Then there's the elephant in the room, 6 episodes versus the original 10. Shorter seasons are the norm now, sure, but does it help or hurt the storytelling? On one hand, tighter pacing. On the other, character depth might suffer. And if this is a psychological horror, character work is the backbone. Without it, you're just throwing jump scares at a wall. But with Ridley Scott still attached as an EP. He's a master of atmosphere, so maybe the shorter runtime forces the team to focus on mood over plot. Let's hope so. So, final thoughts, the terror returning isn't just nostalgia bait. By tackling modern-day demons, literal and metaphorical, this season could be the most socially resonant of the bunch. But here's the question I can't shake. Can a show about systemic horror avoid being nihilistic in 2026? Because if New Hyde's devil is a mirror, what does it say about us that we are finally ready to look?